It's time to wake up to how Marin County has used systematic racism for generations. These are just a couple very specific ways Marin has perpetuated racism in recent years and this summer, and how it all connects to a civil rights violation from last year. That's right, Marin, run by discount Democrats, had the first desegregation order in the United States in 50 years. But if by the end of this video you feel sick to your stomach, you have to flood the Board of Supervisors inbox and let the public know. I don't care what state you live in, we can't let them continue to make decisions in the shadows. George Floyd was murdered by 4 officers in May, which has led the entire country to act for racial equality. With solutions like defunding the police and refunding social services discussed around the country, you're probably wondering how Marin's elected officials responded.
What is Mill Valley doing to show that Black Lives Matter?
Okay, thank you very much. It is a council policy that we do not take action on issues that are not of immediate local importance, but we appreciate hearing everybody's comments. Okay, we'll move on to presentation item number 1.
Oh boy. How does a few statements and tweets compare to actually using your power to create change? Even wealthy white people have spoken out, leading up to the Board of Supervisors budget hearing in late June. This is where they gave a lengthy but vague breakdown on the county's entire revenue and spending for services like education and the sheriff department. This is where it gets fucked up. With all the progress happening around the country, especially in historically liberal places like the Bay, and in the midst of a global health pandemic, the board proposed lowering funding for public services and raising the sheriff's department budget by $6.5 million. Marin is one of the safest places in the Bay, that's common knowledge, but Sheriff Doyle is a known racist who coordinates with ICE to deport Marin's Latinx community. So let me get this straight. San Francisco is a sanctuary city, and right next door, Marin coordinates with ICE. Oh, hell no! There are just a couple more things I want to make clear. First of all, the public hearing section of the meeting lasted like 11 hours. Almost everyone spoke against systematic racism and for defunding the police, including me. Don't believe me? Find the link.
That this is not enough to balance Marin County's 170 incorporated years of systematic racism and white supremacy.
What I see is the sheriff's department, which is I think 25% of our budget, getting a 4.5% increase at this time, while community services is being cut by 10.8%. That honestly doesn't make sense to me, guys. This is such a safe county.
In the United States, the problem is disproportionately caused by the white majority, but its consequences are suffered mainly by Black and Hispanics.
Marin County is the #1 most racially disparate county in California, which means we have extra work to do.
We all are spending these 3 minutes pleading for racial justice, and you all failed us during the years you were in office. You failed us when you spent your life in power doing nothing about the segregation in Marin City's education, while speaking as though racism is something that happens only in the South. The federal government found evidence of racial discrimination in Marin City's public housing and school system.
And how did our elected officials respond to the people? By setting up no plan to address segregation in Marin City and increasing the sheriff's budget by $5 million instead. And the latter half of this video is probably the most important. This is why I just gave the backstory about the recent protests and meetings. All of these demands and civil unrest are being ignored this year, despite how last year, the state Justice Department uncovered that Marin knowingly and intentionally segregated schools in Marin City. White elites, behind our backs, scheming to watch Marin City burn. Imagine how that feels as a Black person. The city is treated like the black sheep, like the stain of Marin County. You know that Marin City only comes to mind when you're driving past it on the way to SF or Mill Valley. But the truth is out. They wanted it to crumble. And don't think because the news came out in 2019 that it wasn't happening for generations prior. So how does the segregation order, George Floyd's death, and the budget hearing all connect? Well, at the budget hearing I mentioned, there was no plan for structural change to Marin City. Let me repeat that. Let's make a timeline. The segregation was happening for years. The news of the segregation came out in fall 2019. The budget hearing was in July 2020, and the people in power had nothing to say about it. To the Board of Supervisors, I told you I wouldn't let you off the hook.
I will make your failures clear to everyone so you can finally face accountability. As the person paying your salaries, I am telling you to stop failing Marin City. That is your job. I am not asking you, I am telling you.
And that wasn't a promise. That was a fucking threat. Judy, Dennis, Katie, Kate, Damon, how dare you sit in those seats? If this video connects with you, I'm asking you to speak in your own video or repost this, but make sure you use the hashtag #EraOfMarinCity so they can see we're using knowledge as power. I put their contacts here for a reason. Fill their inboxes and voicemails. We're paying them to serve us, but they're not doing their job, so we're coming for their job. Make them feel like they can't go to the grocery store without one of us, their constituents, reminding them of their failings in Marin City. I don't know how to end this, but I'm really expecting that you'll watch this, use the hashtag, and reflect on the socioeconomic circumstances that allowed Unraveling City to exist as it does. I know there are a lot of suburbanites who want to hear the chant, but I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of saying Black Lives Matter. Instead, prove it to me.
I am not asking you, I am telling you. Do not make me have to tell you again.